All right, Panther Lair, let's talk about some defensive breakdowns in the Pittsburgh Panthers' most recent game against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. I'm going to do these in chronological order, but they're really going to break down to one of the following things. There's going to be an issue in miscommunication. Sometimes that's with the switching, sometimes that's when they should have switched. Two guys playing one guy, that type of thing. There's going to be issues with the ball handler's defender not getting over ball screens with enough urgency or getting skinny enough. That's going to be a pretty big theme. I think that really cost Pitt down the stretch in this one. And then also there's going to be some examples of some lack of threat recognition or over helping in certain situations when you don't really realize who's defending the guy. And I think that's a little instinctual, but it did cost Pitt. We're going to talk about all of those, and we're going to start here with this very first clip. It's going to be the miscommunication in switching. Now, overall, Pitt did a really good job in switching ball screens. It's something they don't do a lot of, but I think it was very effective, and I think it's something they should have stuck with it. If you've read the article to this point, you've seen that even John Hughley, really good when switching. This is going to be pretty much the first or second instance of that in the game. It's going to be between Mo Gee and Will Jeffress's guy. You're going to see they're going to switch here. Now, we've seen Gee do a lot of chase down blocks, so he's fine in this situation, but he's able to turn Dane Goodwin away. John Hughley, a good job of deterring in the weak slide slot there. Now here, Jeffress and Gee are going to switch back. And Jeffress is going to communicate that, and if the audio was on, which it really can't be or you wouldn't hear me, Jeff Capel starts yelling, switch Mo, switch Mo. And Gee doesn't switch fast enough, so this forces John Hughley to hold a little bit, as when Jeffress releases here, his guy is kind of wide open for a hot second, and then you'll see what ends up happening here in this miscommunication is that Hughley has to hold. Now, when Gee recovers, I think Hughley instinctively just closes out hard, even though he doesn't realize that probably Atkinson, or he probably knows, Atkinson is not a three-point shooter. I don't think he shot any on the year. Jeffress does a good job of stunt and recovery. Hughley probably should just close out, take some chop steps here, and just dare Atkinson to do something. Instead, he closes out hard, and this ultimately leads to a foul. Now, this is going to be an empty corner pick and roll, something Notre Dame did a lot of, but here this is the importance of getting over screens with getting skinny, being urgent, fighting over. Now, Mo Gee has to recognize that there's nothing here, so he probably needs to try to take some of this away, but his man is a shooter, so he's got to stay with him enough, and I think this is just really good optimization of personnel, and if Jeffress gets over here, it's fine, but you're going to see this play out, and just doesn't get over in time, and Gee's unable to block the shot at the rim. Now here, this is why you should stay with this guy, because he is a shooter. Now, Gee trails all the way around. This is when a switch probably should have happened, because I think Pitt's seen these kind of curls off side screens, kind of like pin up, pin down look a couple times this year. And Hughley is definitely going to deter Dane Goodwin here. If he pulls up and shoots, this is going to be a contested shot. So instead, they both go to one guy, and you're going to see just an easy open corner three here. Now, getting into the next clip is going to be another 2-on-1 situation. Now, here's another empty side ball screen, right? We're seeing these a lot here, empty corner ball screens. And Collier almost looks like he wants to ice this, but Gee's unsure, and neither kind of sinks back fast enough here on Atkinson. So Burton slides over as the low man, which he should, but then we end up with a 2-on-1 situation in the post. Now, with this 2-on-1 situation, this weak side defense is really good. Oni is kind of splitting here. Femi is kind of splitting. This is good. But the minute this pass goes up, or when Collier kind of connects here, Burton could probably, concede a little bit. He just has to get back to his man with some more urgency. So the pass goes up. Burton should be sprinting here, but still taking those disciplined breakdown steps. Instead, he just kind of ends up flat-footed, and Pitt concedes the layup. Now again, empty corner pick and roll, surprise, surprise. So we're going to see that on this side here. You're going to see this involve dribble handoff here, Atkinson and Goodwin. Now, again, the importance of getting over these screens just cannot be overstated. But Hughley kind of establishes a drop position, so he doesn't get up to touch with the screen, and I don't really love drop for Pitt in general. So what ends up happening is Femi doesn't fight over hard enough to get back in front, and there's this huge window that gets opened. And because Hughley drops, he kind of just stands here, and instead of kind of just naturally staying with Atkinson, he just thinks that this is where he's defending, and that's why I don't really love this for Pitt. I don't think they're very good and disciplined at this quite yet. So he just kind of stands, ends up trying to kick this, and Jeffress has to come over as a low man and commits a pretty hard foul. Again, here we go, some pick and roll defense, but this is going to be more example of when the switching's good. Here, again, between Will Jeffress and Mo Gee, they exchange their guys. It's fine. Nothing going here. They come back. They switch back. It's fine. Nothing going there. Now here we go. Another ball screen involving Femi. You can see he is completely caught on this screen. And Hughley does a little bit better job here. He's trying to show. But he probably needs to be up a little bit more. Now, this is when Pitt had that 8-point lead, and Prentice Hub pretty much erased that by himself with 2 threes, and this is one of them. So you'll see not getting over to contest this just allows Prentice Hub just to kind of rise up uncontested more or less and hits this 3. Hughley contests late there, but I mean, it's a clean look. Here we go. So obviously this is kind of the next situation. We're going to see another ball screen. Now, Burton did a good job of fighting over ball screens all day. Burton was a plus in this area. Burton does a good job back in front. Now you see how Hughley just more naturally sinks when he's not establishing in a drop. But this is going to be an example of overhelping. So we've seen Mo Gee block shots. He did it earlier on this game. When he trails, he's blocking shot. If Goodwin tries to just lay this ball in, it is getting sent back. So Burton doesn't need to be this far into the lane. He probably can be here or just any type of stunt and recovery. But instead, he completely commits to this. And I just don't even think Goodwin gets a shot over Hughley either. And Jeffress is kind of sunk down to take away this interior pass. So there's not really a passing lane here, even if Hughley's sliding. You just can't leave Prentice Hub wide open in the corner. This is going to be another example of Burton over helping a little bit. Again, so excellent in getting over ball screens. I do want to give him props for this. He gets over ball screens with urgency. Man, that's just really good stuff. Hughley, really good here as well. No reason to hedge this, right? Because he's perfectly on the three-point line, and he's just going to sink naturally here. Sink naturally. There's really not a passing window because Burton fought so well going over. Now, as this ball gets kicked out, Will Jeffress is the best on-ball defender on the team. And even though Blake Wesley was absolutely living at the rim and he absolutely was a blur in this game, probably one of the quickest guys with the ball at Pitt's seen, Jeffress does a good job of making this drive go nowhere. This little bump right there, this is going to be a very hard attempt. I don't know why Burton is so far in the lane here because he is once again leaving the hottest guy on the floor on the other team wide open in the corner. And there's a wide open 3. Now, in this last one, this is going to be some low man confusion. Okay, so when this happens, ball screen up top here. Femi does an okay job until he gets plastered right there. Now, this really doesn't hurt him. So this doesn't end up hurting the team. But on this next ball screen, again, empty corner ball screen, we've seen this a bunch. This is why I don't like the hedge. There's just no reason for this. If Hughley's just here leveling this off, there's no harm here. But this is going to allow Wesley to get downhill as Hughley gets spun around. Now, here's the main thing. Goodwin is the one pass away guy here. So I'm not sure Jeffress needs to be this far in the lane because the low man is really Jamarius Burton. If Jeffress sticks a little closer here to take the one pass away guy, which is his guy, that means that Wesley has to either try to finish or he's going to have to maybe try to go to the corner. Now, with Burton here and Jeffress kind of looming in here with his length, he may pick off that pass. So Jeffress just staying a little bit more out of the lane as this play unfolds probably takes away both passes. Instead, he commits over. And look, this is good instincts, but this is easily the kick out. Hughley turned around, Femi trailing. And this ends up being a step-in 3, just an in-rhythm 3 for Goodwin. And it's one of the reasons why guys have to get over ball screens with more urgency. I think you've seen in this clips, even though these are defensive breakdowns, for the most part, switching is good. I only put the one hedge in here, but I'm just not sure if you've read this article earlier on. Like I think I said this earlier on in the clip. It's been 9.5 minutes. But you could see that Hughley did a really good job on Prentice Hub, even forcing him into a travel by switching on to him. So I don't know why they kind of shook things up here late. I know they went back to a zone that may have shaken things up, but I thought maybe did you overthink this, Pitt, and just not going with what works, trying to throw different looks at them, and Notre Dame was just able to really figure that out. But pretty good defensive effort here by Pitt. They got to shore up some of these breakdowns. The biggest thing is guards have to get over these ball screens with more urgency. If that happens, there's not as much dribble penetration and these kickouts. It's something I really think they need to work on as they go further on into ACC play.